Today we'll repeat some of the things we talked about yesterday. We talked about 3 aspects of force: loss of force, gain of force. If loss of force is stopped, there is gain of force. And the third thing, which is totally different, creation of force. We talked about 3 things. Now, I'm repeating this for a little important in the sense that I'm trying to introduce something when we have not yet started self-observation and we are not yet able to hold an observing eye inside. We are not really able to hold divided attention. So, before any of that starts happening, we can at least do the practice of non-identifying. And that is why I'm trying to repeat this, because the greatest loss of force is identification. We lose everything in identification. So, before we go into self-observation, can there be an in-between step, which is easy? I hope it is easy, which is easy, and that is the practice of non-identifying. Non-identifying. Right? એટલે વાત એવી છે કે ગઈકાલનું થોડું આપણે રિપીટ કરશું. ગઈકાલે 3 આયામથી આપણે ફોર્સની વાત કરેલી. એક, જે ફોર્સ આપણે ગુમાવીએ છીએ, ક્ષીણ થાય છે. એક, એ જો બંધ થાય તો આપણને ફોર્સની પ્રાપ્તિ થાય, મળે આપણને. અને ત્રીજું જે છે, ફોર્સ આપણે ક્રિએટ કરીએ. પછી આપણે આઈડેન્ટિફિકેશનની વાત થઈ. હવે એક વચલો સ્ટેપ આપવો છે જે જરા ઇઝી છે. હજી આપણે સેલ્ફ ઓબ્ઝર્વેશન કદાચ કરી ન શકીએ, સમય લાગે. એટલી ધારણા શક્તિ આપણી અંદર હોય નહીં કે ડબલ એરોડ અટેન્શન આપણે રોકી શકીએ. તો એની પહેલા એક નાની પ્રેક્ટિસ આવે છે, ધ પ્રેક્ટિસ ઓફ નોન આઈડેન્ટિફાઈંગ. We talked about identification yesterday, where we become that. We lose our original identity. We become that. It is like there is an actor in a play or in a movie, and that actor, say he's acting the part of the king, and he becomes so identified with the role that he forgets he is acting. He forgets he is acting, and you can imagine if he wears all the clothes of the king and the crown and he starts moving through the bazaar or something, a marketplace, right? He'll be called a fool, right? But here everybody is wearing the crown and moving through the bazaar, so nobody calls the other person a fool. It's only that one rare person who is a little bit awoken from all this and he doesn't know what is happening around, right? So, this is the state. We forget that we are in the play of life. And every role we think it is real. We identify with the role. This is identification. જેમ એક એક્ટર ભૂલી જાય છે કે હું એક ભાગ ભજવું છું, અને એ જો એક્ટિંગના કપડા પહેરીને બજારમાં ફરવા માંડે, he goes to the marketplace, right? એવી રીતે આપણે ભૂલી ગયા છે કે આપણે અહીંયા પાત્ર ભજવીએ છીએ. એ યાદ કરવું કે હું પાત્ર છું, એનું નામ આત્મસ્મરણ, સેલ્ફ રિમેમ્બરિંગ. To be able to remember that I am just an actor over here. I have forgotten. And we take everything for real. This is the state of identification. There is only one sin on earth. Only one sin, and that is identification. એક જ પાપ છે. Identification. કે હું ભૂલી ગયો છું મારી ઓરિજિનલ સ્વરૂપને. એના સિવાય બીજું કોઈ પણ વસ્તુ પાપ નથી. Right? Only one sin. I have forgotten who I am. Identification. And identification is a continual loss of force. Every moment in identification we are losing energy, we are losing force. Now, at any moment when we practice non-identifying, suddenly the force which we are losing, we start gaining that force. And then this force, when we accumulate this force, a certain amount of this force, we are able to hold double-arrowed attention and we move to self-observation. So this is an in-between step, the practice of non-identifying. Now please understand that before everything we have to remember. We have to remember. I'm talking to my son, right? And my son says, I don't want to listen to you, you don't talk to me like this. And I feel hurt. I feel hurt. Am I identified? The very fact that I'm hurt is I am not playing the role. I am identified with the role of father. I am identified. Then that very hurt, what you call, becomes the cause of so many thoughts, so many emotions. And each thought, each emotion is taking force from me. Right? Okay. I sent him to good schools. I looked after him. I suffered a lot to make him study, etc., etc. Right? Internal considering, this is called. We go into internal considering. હવે હું મારી ઉંમર થી એટલે માનતો નથી. મેં કેટલું એની માટે કરેલું. We don't understand that the whole process is a process of sacrifice. Right? We feel it is a business. Right? We feel we did so much, we must get so much. You know, we do that 7th month ceremony. Right? આપણે 7મા મહિનાનું કરીએ ને શ્રીમંત. એટલે એક કપલ હતું. One couple, and he said, "Okay, bhai, you come and do something for us." For me, it was the first time. After that, I've not gone anywhere. So I said, in the morning, let me think of something. So then, few lines. Okay, we are giving birth to someone. It is not our son or daughter. It belongs to someone else. It belongs to existence. That child which is coming through us is coming as a loan. It is coming as a loan. On the loan we have to pay interest. On the loan we have to pay interest. And that interest is that we sacrifice our pleasures for the upbringing of the child. આવા થોડી લીટી સવારે came to me and I wrote it down and I so એક પ્રાર્થના. We tell ourselves, we are playing a role, but we become identified, my son, my daughter, my this. And we cannot see so many connections. We cannot see so many connections. I used to, sit with my guru and open all the letters which used to come to him. And he would make me read out all the letters. And there used to be very personal letters of people. And so many people used to write to him. And in certain situations, he would give one advice. And in the same situation, he would give another advice. Our logical mind is such that we feel that in this same situation, it has to be the same advice. It has to be the same advice. Right? So, supposing one letter comes and this person says that he or she is married and she says, I've fallen in love with somebody else. So you would say, okay, tell them that no, to consciously be free of that. Right? Now after 1 or 2 months, somebody else's letter comes and it's the same thing. And you say, nay, tell them to go ahead. What's happening over here? So I asked him. Well, you tell me that in this case it was like this. Both the cases were absolutely similar. So he's saying, yes. But there was a momentum of the past life. And that momentum, if it is not fulfilled, it will create more problems. I said, yes, I can't see that. You can see that. Right? So, we can only see what is in front of our eyes. Only what is in front of our eyes. And we cannot see beyond. We cannot see the patterns which the person has, which are lying in the subconscious mind and unconscious mind. The Guru is not interested in the morality of life. He is interested in consciousness. Consciousness means freedom from patterns. And if he sees the patterns in someone and he says by taking this action he or she can be free of more patterns, then he is more interested in that. Right? Breaking of identification. Identification is the only sin. These are Gurdjieff's words, not mine. Right. Now, two things can happen. Either I play the part or the part plays me. કાં તો એ પાત્ર હું ભજવું, કાં તો પાત્ર મને ભજવે. મને ભજવે તો there is loss of force. And હું ભજવું તો I gain force કારણ કે I am stopping the leakage of force. This is the most important. Now the second thing we talked about is creation of force. We'll go into that a little. Now I want to just, that before anything can happen, we have to remember. Right? Whether it is self-observation, whether it is non-identifying. Non-identifying. We have to remember. That remembering is the beginning of consciousness. Even though we are saying that the third state of consciousness is double-arrowed attention, this remembering not to identify is the beginning of consciousness. I won't identify. I'll go out from here. Somebody has parked his car in front of my car. I will not allow myself to be identified. Can you see? Right. So many things you are expecting which should happen tomorrow, but half of them may not happen tomorrow. I will say I will not allow myself to be identified. I will not go with the negative thought. I will not go with the irritation. I will not go with any negative state. I'll say no to it. If I'm feeling tense, I'll say, okay, I am feeling tense, but can I create a little space inside? Can I create a little space? I'm feeling little tense. What is going to happen? Who is going to win the match? Right? I'm feeling tense. You don't feel tense. I remember 1980 was the Wimbledon final in 1980, and it was between Bjorn Borg and John. Right? And I think the third set went into a big tiebreaker. So all my friends had come home in Bombay, and we were all watching the match. And my grandfather was also at home at that time, so he was also watching the match with us. And it went into that tiebreaker. He got up, he says, I can't take the tension any longer. Identification. Now, we want to say no to the tension. It is there. We want to say no to it. I don't want to be identified. So I'm bringing in one practice which is before self-observation. And this, all of us can very easily do this practice. And those small moments of consciousness will start adding up in our life. Keep saying no. You see your husband in the morning, say, I don't want to be identified. Right? Whatever he does, he may have put his shoes somewhere, he may have put his towel somewhere, he may have broken a glass somewhere. Right? Does not matter. I don't want to be identified. And this itself, this very small practice, will then take us to self-observation. So I'm going to continue what we were doing yesterday. Now just remember this point of remembering. It's very important. The point of remembering. कहीं नहीं समझाए हुए तो बोल दो. So before we go down to real self-observation, we start the practice of non-identifying. Every act of non-identifying, however small it is, it could be just here. Okay, I expected him to fill the water, and suddenly I see he has kept the glass like this, and why? I don't want to identify. Every small act of not identifying, we get force, we gather consciousness, right? And this is the force which is going to then take us much higher. Now, whenever we don't identify, somewhere there is a loss and somewhere there is a gain. The loss is on who loses? Nature. Nature loses. So, we will call nature this mechanical side of life. We will divide life into two parts. The mechanical side, the conscious side. जीवन ना बे भाग करसु, एक यांत्रिक भाग और एक conscious भाग. Right? So, the mechanical side loses and the conscious side gains. Right? Not only that, when we do something, we gain. When we do something consciously, we gain. We gain. Means, who gains? Who gains? What do we gain? What do we gain? Tell me. Force. And there is growth of essence. There is growth of essence. And it's just this small act of not identifying over here, there is growth of essence. So there are two parts to life, the conscious part, the mechanical part. The conscious part may be called God, the mechanical part may be called devil. Right? So each moment one part has to gain and one part has to lose. And this goes on. So it is not just we gaining, our essence gaining, the whole conscious part of humanity is gaining. It is a big thing, very, very big thing. Now, imagine two people, both living the same life, right? બંનેનું જીવન સરખું છે, સવારે ઉઠે છે, right? They get up in the morning, right? They do their prayers, they go to temple, they go to work, they come home, this, that, right? They're two different people, but one is doing it consciously and one is doing it mechanically. From outside we don't know the difference. From outside we don't know the difference. One is gaining and one is losing. Can you see? So, at the end of life, one's essence has transformed and one's essence is just the same as when he was born. This is the difference. And both may have gone to the temple so many times, both may have done prayers so many times. But without consciousness, there is no gain. So, one plays the part is conscious. Now, over a period of time, we must make a note of where we identify the most. Where do I identify the most? If somebody talks about my profession, do I identify the most? If somebody talks about my guru, do I identify the most? If somebody talks about my family, do I identify the most? If somebody talks about my caste, do I identify the most? If somebody talks about my gods, do I identify the most? Where do I identify the most? Make a list. Right? So this will help you as a little advance, that when somebody starts talking about this, when this topic comes up, I will remain in a state of non-identified. So you will be able to make out certain trains of thought, amuk vicharo ખ્યાલ આવશે કે અહીંયા હું identify થાઉં. Certain automatic gestures. Some people swear very easily. So whenever we swear, it is always a state of identification. I remember when I was just new with my guru, and Von Erhard had come to Bombay. Von Erhard was the founder of EST. Later on, he sold the whole EST foundation for a massive profit, and it became something else. I don't remember what it was. Landmark. It became Landmark. And in those days, there was a big craze, a big German guru, Von Erhard, famous all over the world. And he had come from Bombay. And somebody came to my guru and gave 2 tickets. Okay, would you like to go and listen to Von Erhard? And it was a full packed hall. So my guru took me. And we went to listen to Von Erhard. And EST was very famous in those days. And he started talking.
So
EST, I don't remember the full what it means now, but AGM, after 3-step rhythmic breathing, he had a technique called EST for awakening.
Okay.
And he was a very famous German guru. And in Bombay, many people were practicing EST. Even today, Landmark is very famous.
Okay.
So, and then suddenly he started using 4-letter words in his talk. So my guru is telling me, our work is over here, let's go. Let's go. Right? Aggressiveness about anything is identification. Even if it is aggressiveness of truth. That very word is not proper, satyagraha. કારણ કે સત્યનો આગ્રહ ન હોઈ શકે. આગ્રહ એટલે સત્ય નથી. So we'll be able to identify some typical states of ours where we become negative very easily. And we will see suddenly that certain things which we till now thought were totally harmless, which is the most important of those, which we આપણને હતું કે અત્યાર સુધી એ સાવ નિર્દોષ છે, which is the most important? Worry. Nobody even bothers, we are worrying all the time, right? And we think it is quite harmless. Many people think it is good to worry. Many wives ask their husbands, તમને છોકરાઓની ચિંતા નથી, right? They ask their husbands, you're not worrying for the child. So they think it is good to worry, but worrying is a state of identification. We lose force. So the practice of non-identifying in the small things of life, this is very, very easy. I have not asked you to self-observe. At least this we can all start from now only. Right? Now, before we try to see the duality over here, that before I practice non-identifying, there is a point where I have to remember. I remember myself. I remember myself. Then I forget myself and now I am concerned with not identifying. જરા દેખાય છે આ point? કે મને યાદ આવે કે મારે નોન આઈડેન્ટિફાઈંગ કરવું છે, આમાં નથી મારે ખેંચાવું, રાઈટ? તો એની શરૂઆતમાં પહેલા મને આત્મસ્મરણ તો કરવું જ પડે. મને થોડુંક તો I have to remember myself. I have to remember. And then I am concerned with not identifying with the irritation that this was put in the wrong place. આ ખોટી જગ્યાએ મુકાયું. But there is a point where I remember myself. Now, this point is very, very important. Very important. Can I expand that point? Can I expand that point? Patanjali, when he defines meditation, what is meditation? Patanjali, what is dhyan? He defines it. Right? So he says, tat pratye ektanta dhyanam. Ye pratiti ne તાણું એટલે to stretch. That feeling, to stretch that feeling is meditation. Meditation. Not sitting cross-legged and seeing God dancing with Radha or something like that. It's not meditation. Right? To be able to stretch that. E pratiti ne tānu.
So, sir,
yeah.
when you see something is not put right, you go there and make it put right, what is that?
No, I don't understand.
Something is not made, next person doesn't put something right in its proper place. Right? When you go there, you put it in the proper place, what is that?
So, just don't do it with identification. Right? He has not put it right. This is a neutral thought. But I can say, he has not put it right. Now it is no longer neutral. I am identified. Right? Can you see? Please come home. Neutral. Please come home. Identified. Right? So, what thoughts are going on up here when I put it right? If I go to put it right, and at the same time I am saying he has done something wrong, then I am identified. If I am complaining, then I am identified. So the first thing is that put it right, but first pause and say, if there's any negativity, I don't want to go with it. Then put it right. Put it right. No?
Thing that we expand is that sensitivity.
Hmm?
You see, we have to expand that point.
Yeah.
That sensitivity.
Sensitivity is a big part of it. Big part of it. Very good. I'm coming to that. To sensitivity. I'm coming to that. So, how will we practice in life? For that point. For that point. How will we practice?
Self-remembering.
Yeah, self-remembering. So, I see that he has not put it right. Okay? And I say every day I'm telling him I'm identified. So the trains of thought have started with him. He has no intelligence to put it right, etc. The trains. So now suddenly I remember I'm identified. So I say I don't want to go with these negative thoughts. I'm practicing non-identified. Now that moment I remembered myself for a moment. Yeah, I want to stretch that. I want to stretch that now. But can I practice something in life? What you are calling sensitivity.
Is that not sensitivity though?
I'm coming to that. Let us go one step lower, then come back to that. That is what I'm trying to tell you. Let us go one step lower. Can we practice something for that?
Tolerance?
No. He's given the right word, sensitivity. The word is sensitivity. But here, for a moment, I remembered myself. મને આત્મસ્મરણ થઈ ગયું. પછી એ આત્મસ્મરણ ખોવાઈ ગયું અને હું કહું છું કે I don't want to become negative. Well, now I'm concerned with my state. જે સ્થિતિ બને છે, I'm concerned with it. I've forgotten કે એ ક્ષણમાં મને I remembered myself. Am I coming across in this? Now, I can go to this a little later. Can I expand that state a little? Can I expand that state a little? This is very important. How will I practice for that? How will I practice for that?
So will I look inside and see what's happening?
No. I'm just asking for in the small things in life. Now forget what's happening inside. Right? I want to expand that state, what he is talking about. But in my normal things, how will I practice? Supposing I'm eating a chocolate, how will I practice? I will try to expand the taste, the sensitivity of the chocolate. Huh?
By observing.
Observing, holding the feeling of it. Right? I'm watching a sunset, I'm getting a feeling of beauty, I will try to expand a little. Right? Somebody is driving the car fast, I'm getting a feeling of fear, I will expand. Right? So, I will practice expansion in the small things of life. Sometimes ki Gujarati karu. જીવનની નાની નાની વસ્તુમાં હું તાણવાની કોશિશ કરીશ. એટલે એક ચોકલેટ ખાઉં છું તો ચોકલેટનો સ્વાદ હવે ખેંચવાની કોશિશ કરીશ. Can you understand? કે એક સૂર્યાસ્ત જોઉં છું તો એ જે અંદર આનંદ આવે છે એ આનંદને જરાક એક્સપેન્ડ કરવાની ટ્રાય કરીશ. નાની નાની વસ્તુ રોજ. So,
Is it expanding or is it holding it?
Holding and expanding. Without holding, you cannot expand. Without holding, you cannot expand. Yeah, if I want to finish the first chocolate and get the second chocolate, then I can't expand. Right? So,
Rajen, is that through all five senses?
yeah,
So
all senses,
everything you
all
do.
five senses. I may be listening to music.
Music as well, yeah.
Can you see? The artist is expanding certain surs, what you call certain tones. You know, he'll pull. Even with the sitar, he'll pull a certain You see, he'll expand that, and it is when they expand that, and that you get that momentary feeling of joy. I don't know when you go to see these concerts, right? So in that expansion there is joy. Have you all have felt this? All have felt this, right? સમજાય છે શું કહું છું? એક સિતાર વાળાને સાંભળે તો એક સુર સડનલી એ તાણશે, ખેંચશે, એના જે તાર છે ને ખેંચશે, અને એ જ્યારે ખેંચે છે અંદર એક આનંદ આપણને ઉત્પન્ન થાય છે. Now, if we have practiced a little in life, then I remember, okay, he has not put it right. I say, I don't want to be negative, but before that, I remember. I hold that feeling of remembering. I hold that feeling of remembering. I expand it. I expand it. What happens in this expansion? Yeah.
So that kind of expand, don't we get lost in the feeling?
No, I don't understand. Sorry.
When we expand
Yeah.
that point, but don't we get lost in that? Most of our mind gets
Yeah, momentary. Because that is, in music that is called samadhi, sur samadhi. You see, he has expanded. For that moment, the joy has come because you have dissolved. The joy which you are getting is because for that momentary there is no thought, there is nothing, you have dissolved it. You see? And you touch something of the beyond, the fourth state of consciousness. Right? But now we want to expand the feeling of I, presence. The feeling of I. What is it? What are we doing over here? What actually happens? That very famous book, what is it? The presence of now? What is it called? The power of now. Right. No need to read the book. We are talking about it now. Right? So, what is happening in this moment? Tell me. See, there are two times. There is the vertical time, there is the horizontal time. Now, I'm eating a chocolate and I'm expanding the taste of the chocolate. So, horizontal time is moving, present moment. But this expansion is in each present moment. Supposing I expand for 5 present moments. Take 1 second as present. Second is an arbitrary measurement. It's not a real measurement. Right? But just now we'll take 1 second as 1 moment. So in that each moment I am expanding that which happened in that moment. So that expansion is not in this time. It is moving into some other time. That joy is coming from that higher time, eternity. So, if I am not identifying, then I am in my normal time, linear time. I am not identifying. But when I am remembering myself and I am stretching that, then I am connecting to something very high at that point. And in that expansion of self, in a small musical tone, if you dissolve and you get so much of joy momentarily, what will happen when you expand yourself? You're understanding what I'm trying to say? You're moving into eternity. The feeling of joy comes from eternity. So, non-identifying self-observation is all in our normal linear time. Past, present, future. But when I feel the self, that one moment when I remembered the self, I hold over there. And as I learn to expand that, I am now leaving this time, I move because that self is in a different time. It is in a totally different time. એ શાશ્વતતામાં છે. પકડાય છે શું કહું કે એ જે મારું હોવાપણું છે એ આ સમયનો ભાગ નથી. મારો શરીર આ સમયનો ભાગ છે. My body is of this time. Can you understand? પણ એ feeling of જે I, the remembering of that I, એને સેજ ને ધારણ કર્યું, એને ખેંચ્યું, તો it is in a different time. I move up in vertical time. That is why I feel so much joy. હવે નાનું એક મ્યુઝિકલ સૂરની અંદર આટલો આનંદ આવે તો આમાં કેટલો આનંદ આવે જો એક વખત પણ આપણે કરી શકીએ. Get what I'm trying to say? This is the joy of samadhi. But now this samadhi has not come as a shortcut. It is coming through our hard work. Through our hard work. You get it? No. So non-identifying is one thing. Right? Self-observation, of course, we'll talk a lot on self-observation. But self-observation still is in this time. I'm observing what has happened out of my reaction to life. Right? But I'm not connecting to something which descends from something higher. When I expand the feeling of self, I'm connecting to something higher. This is called self-remembering, Atma-smaran. I remembered. This is what the Bhakti yogis call as Surata. They have gone into the feeling of self, has expanded so much, they've dissolved into it. They've dissolved into it. Like you dissolve into one musical tone. You dissolve into a painting. You dissolve into a sunset. You read something in a book and you dissolve into it. Momentarily, you read a poetry. Yeah.
As you expand that vertical time, then linear time, is it carrying on?
It carries on.
And so, are you losing time or you losing?
Then you go to double arrowed attention. You try to hold that as long as possible and you drink your water at the same time and you don't identify over here. It is hard. It is hard, but I'm trying to bring you to this. This is where we want to reach. This is where we want to reach.
So if you're in that, do you feel like you're going to lose out on this time because you got to do so much on this time, but you're enjoying your expansion or sensitivity on the vertical?
That is the state of avdut, what they call. Right? So in India, we used to have many people who used to remain in a state of avdut. Avdut means not cared about world. Not to care about the world. So they would try to remain in that feeling all the time. Right? Many of them were real avduts and many of them were imaginary also. But our thing is that we want to balance this and that. For us, they may have been in that high state, but for us, at our level, we don't want to go into that state in that way. We want to hold both the states together. But at least, just now, don't bother about, if you can do it momentarily, right? Then we'll come back to holding both the states together. But can we do this momentarily? You're in a different world. You've left this world completely. It is in, yeah.
You use the example of music or notes in music or a painting, etc. Would it be correct to believe that different people will respond to a different note
According to their essence.
depending on their level of
Being and their essence. Doesn't matter. This will be the same for everyone. Try to see that what is happening outside may be a conductor of pain. Right? But when you remember, I don't want to identify with that pain. In that remembering, if there is a moment of expansion, even in that pain there is joy. That feeling does not change with anything happening outside in life. It is totally, it's totally away from this life. You've entered into another dimension of time.
Rajen,
Yeah.
we talk about this, all this happens in your intellectual center.
Right.
But the moment of joy
Right.
takes place at the center of emotion.
Hmm.
So that transference between the mind of the intellectual center and the emotional center, is that not what the bhakti yogis practice from the emotional center? Is that not what it is?
Yeah, it is the same thing. It is the same thing. Right? Suddenly, what is bhakti feeling? We have expanded the feeling of I. We have expanded the feeling of I. In a way, it is bhakti only. Right? The feeling of I is not a part of this time. Right? The I is that which observes this time. So in that momentary expansion, holding that remembering, we have gone into something totally different. So initially, yeah.
Sorry, that vertical line, is that now coming from, is that the third force?
Is that?
Is that totally different? Sorry now. Is that the vertical line that we're experiencing from eternity, is that now the third force?
Is that the what?
Third force.
Third force. Third force that I just found. Is that?
It is the third force. It is, we have connected to the third force. Correct. The very intelligence which made us do this is the third force. We balanced something in life. We reconciled something in life. His putting the glass in the wrong place was a conductor of passive force. That created a negative state within me. My active force was going into that negative state. I brought intelligence. I don't want to. At that moment I remembered myself. Right? And in a way, it is beyond the three forces. It is God. It is beyond the three forces.
But you said that the words, that the absolute is very far from me.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Whatever level of absolute, there will be levels in this vertical time. Right? But the quality will be the quality of the absolute. Right? So doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. One momentary glimpse has come in our life. It's a big thing. Very, very big thing. People are born and die, they don't get a single glimpse of it. No? And this glimpse has not come just because of some accident or something, or somebody, giving us grace or something. It has come through our hard work. Something has transformed in us. We are not the same person after that. So this self-remembering is what we call as creation of force. Because now we are imitating the Creator. We are imitating the Creator. See, when we talked about mantra yoga, we said that the whole world was made through mantra. And when we are doing mantra, we are imitating the creator. In the same way, the creator created the three forces. In touching that point even a little, we are going back to there. We are creating force now for ourselves. So in non-identifying, we are gaining force. We are stopping the leakages of the force. We are gaining force. And in self-remembering, we are creating force. Now, try to understand the difference between life and our reactions to life. हमने અહીંયા ખોટી જગ્યાએ મૂક્યું એ લાઈફની ઘટના છે. મને ઇરિટેશન આવ્યો એ મારો રિએક્શન છે. See, he put it in the wrong place is the event in life. I got irritation is my reaction to the event. Please understand, we are not working with the events of life. We are working with the reaction to the events of life. When I am using my willpower in life, I am working with the events of life. You better put it in the right place tomorrow. Kale sarki jagyaye mukjo. Right? I am working with the event of life. But in spirituality, we are never working with the events in life. We are only working with our reaction to the events in life. In the spiritual eyes, every event in life is neutral. Every event is neutral. It is what force it conducts for me. એક શેનું conductor છે? એ તમગુણનું કંડક્ટર છે, એ રજગુણનું કંડક્ટર છે, શેનું કંડક્ટર છે? Try to see. The same event can have different reactions in so many people. Right? હું કહું કે ભાઈ એને ખોટી જગ્યાએ મૂક્યું. I'll say he put it in the wrong place. I'm feeling irritated. Right? You will say, अरे કેટલું artistically એને મૂક્યું. Right? The event is neutral. Huh? Somebody else will say કે ભાઈ એને કાચનો ગ્લાસ મૂકવાની શી જરૂર હતી, પેપર કપ મૂક્યો હોય તો ચાલે. Right? So the same event will have different reactions in different people. Right? But we are working with the reaction. We are not working with the event.
It's on a pathway. You find banana peels lying there. You know the word who put it there, but you see it's the wrong place. You take it and put it in the right place. What's happening? What's happening there then?
It doesn't matter what reaction is happening inside. Please understand. If I picked it up and put it in this thing and I feel, oh, I have done something very good, then my ego has increased.
But sir, you put the reaction inside, you can say, hey, someone will slip on it. You take it away.
Exactly. So you got a reaction inside that somebody will slip on it. Right? So that is right. You picked it up and put it on the side. Now be aware that the feeling of goodness does not come. Right? Otherwise, it will open a train of thoughts. All other people are very negligent. They don't care about other people. I am the only one in the world who cares about everyone. So I can pick it up and put it in mechanically also, and I can pick it up and put it in consciously. What I am saying, to become conscious at any moment, there is a moment where you have to remember yourself. I'm saying, can we expand that? Then can we expand? actually come to think of it, this is not the event. આ ઘટના નથી. એક વ્યક્તિની અંદર અલગ અલગ રિએક્શન આવે છે, એની માટે ઘટના છે. That is the event. The different reactions which is coming in different people. So as long as we take the outer event as not neutral, as we take it as personal, we are always identified. આપણે જો આને personally લેશું, right? So we are identified. So we કહું કે ભાઈ બીજું કોઈ હોત તો એને સરખું કોઈ હોય, પણ મારી માટે જ એને ખોટી જગ્યાએ. Right? So we take things very personal. Very personal. So if we can stretch that moment of self-remembering, the longer we stretch it, the more force we gain. Just feel it. How will we gain force? How will we gain force? If I get a small glimpse like this, will I put in extra effort or not? નાની એક ઝલક મળી ગઈ તો હું વધારે મહેનત કરીશ કે નહીં કરું? So we are creating force. Now, back to something which we talked about in another way. What is the key to losing force? What is the key to losing force? I talked about it a few days ago. What upsets me? What upsets me?
મને શું દુઃખી કરે છે?
નડે છે.
નડે.
What upsets me?
ખૂંચે છે.
Somebody came in my home and in a boot na kaida, didn't take off the shoes. ખૂંચે છે. Somebody is eating the food and half the food he left in the plate. ખૂંચે છે. Right? Does it upset? What upsets me? What upsets me in life? The other day, the wife was having popcorn. The husband was saying, "No eating popcorn in the car." Khunche che. Right? What is upsetting me? Wherever I am upset, I am identified. એનાથી થોડું આગળ આવે છે. Can't say in English. There is no translation in English. જ્યાં મારો જીવ બળે ત્યાં ચોટેલો જ છું. જીવ ક્યાં પડે છે? So what upsets me? Does the political scene upset me? Does the morality of people today upset me? Does the religious scene upset me? Can you see? I go to people's house and the poor daughter, new daughter-in-law, married daughter-in-law, she's just come, and what do you call mother-in-law, father-in-law, they follow some religion. Arey, did you touch that? Then go and wash your hands 7 times. Go and wash your hands 7 times. I'm talking, I'm not joking. So she's asking me, the daughter-in-law is trying to ask what to do. I said, you say a lie that I already washed them. Why are you getting upset?
Lie comes in handy anytime.
Huh?
And lie also comes in handy.
Handy. A lie which increases consciousness is not a lie. And this is real. This is real. Somebody will come sitting for lunch and they'll say, "Oh, I forgot to do this thing." So she'll go quickly. What you are eating your lunch, and what has upset you is your the very God to free you from getting upset becomes the conditioning for getting more upset. All these what you call so-called pseudo-religions, pseudo-spirituality. Do this, don't do this, have bath, don't have bath. Have to do so many pujas in a day, have to do this, have to do that. Anywhere where there is have to do this and don't do, definitely it is not spiritual. It can be anything else. Run away from that fast as possible. If you have not had a bath and it's going to upset me, gone. So what is upsetting me? Political, moral, religious, hygienic. My friend gets upset because the supermarkets are stealing from everyone. Right? The ozone layer, the global warming, the traffic, the pollution. What is upsetting me? What is upsetting me? And then of course some people have a beautiful habit. They get upset about everything. Lovely habit. Whenever you feel you are right, be very sure you are identified. Be very sure you are identified. હું સાચો છું. Identification. We've studied the ray of creation 2 days ago. From the absolute, all suns, our sun, planets, earth. In this ray we are so small, so small. Meditate on that ray. Meditate. It's not just an ordinary diagram. ખાલી એક diagram છે એવું નથી. It's a very, very deep thing. Meditate upon that ray. In this whole scheme of things, I am not even as big as a cell. Hold that diagram. That very diagram will expand the self, become self-remembrant. Now, the first glimpse of this inner expansion, when we are starting the talks, we say eternity and present moment. But suddenly we will be living in 2 times at the same time. For the first time, we will see that our future is not tomorrow, our future is always in the now. Rising in the now. Future is not, I make 100 rupees tomorrow, right? Or I become a better person tomorrow. The future, in that very expansion of that presence, you rise somewhere, you say the future is now. In the now. Please see what is making us suffering. What makes us suffer. આપણને શું દુઃખી કરે છે. Please make a list. And don't love to worry. People love to worry. There is a bomb blast over there and they love to worry. Put yourself in that person's shoes. Because we live in a jail of useless suffering. And this concern, what happened to people in the bomb blast, what happened to the people in the accident, all it does, it gives us a feeling of meritoriousness. Oh, I am so concerned about them. Right? Try to see this from far. It is all identification. Now, whenever we are talking about another person inside, we are at one extreme of the pendulum, very identified, in a deep state of identification. જ્યારે કોઈની પણ અંદર હું વાત કરી રહ્યો છું. So we come back to that example. I have not talked about external considering in 5 years over here. This year I will take one lecture on external considering. External considering is real bhakti. To become the other person. Right? Just momentary imagine that we go to blast a bomb somewhere. We go to blast a bomb somewhere. If I could externally consider what is going to happen to each person, will I blast the bomb? No. So, external considering is to become the other person, to wear his shoes. To wear his shoes. The minute you start expanding self, you will see that yourself and somebody else's self, there is a oneness in self. There is an inner oneness in self because your self has expanded. Now it is not the small self of your self-love. It has expanded.
At this point, I'm just wondering, with living in the world and trying to practice all that you say you should practice, with all political situations, with the families, with your own self, how do you grapple all this? And, you said that this is how you start, but you can't give an opinion. You can't say yes.
Then enjoy your opinion, but bring a pause and bring in consciousness. Don't be identified with your opinion. People, till I came over here, I was following the American election on TV very closely. So I had an opinion. It was just a game. There was no, what do you call it? If somebody would argue, there was no, what do you call, aggressiveness about it. And it gives you a beautiful, this thing to see through other people. What they are hiding, what they are talking about, what is going to happen. So much you can see. It's a great exercise, beautiful exercise. But as long as we are concerned with our own self, what will happen? Can you get it? One prime minister is gone, now the new one will come. What will happen? But one machine goes, a new machine comes. What will happen? Right? What has to happen will happen. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? What has to happen will happen. Can I be free of this mechanical world? Can I be free of this mechanical world? Otherwise, what has to happen has to happen. If I am free, then what has to happen cannot happen. Cannot happen. So, take it as a stepping stone that because there's so much of negativity in the world, for us, if we really understand it, is very easy. Can you imagine in the old days, a person had to go to his guru would take a test, and he'd say, "You have not passed the test, come next year again." Poor chap would go back home, come next year, then again guru take a test, right? Then he gets entrance in the school, ashram or school or whatever you call it. Then for first 5 years, guru doesn't look at him, right? Peel potatoes in the kitchen, take water from the garden to the garden, etc. Nothing. Nothing. Our whole journey is pure journey of understanding. Right? I'm not asking you to get up at 2 o'clock in the night and let's plant trees outside the mandir. Right? Come on, let's plant some trees and get rid of all the plastic paper and bottles and all that. It's just a journey of understanding, pure understanding. And can you see, we don't have to go anywhere. Everything that we need is in front of us. and we can be free. Now, in this practice of non-identifying, many points will come where we'll remember also and again get identified. So try to go, then try, when you again remember, try to study both the states. It will be a good exercise. So, there is a moment of consciousness. I'm trying to hold that moment. I'm in a totally different state, and suddenly I forget and I get identified, and the feeling of revenge has overtaken me completely. I've forgotten that there is anything like consciousness. And now I'm seeking revenge. And if I've studied both those states, after I again remember, I'll see when I was in that state of consciousness, I was creating force, and there I was losing force. In that hypnosis of revenge, I was losing force. Try to see what we dislike in life. Supposing I'm in a job situation which I totally dislike. It is the job is neutral. It is the dislike which is taking force from me every moment. Every moment. Bring forgiveness in life. Right? If somebody does something, something happens, then a mechanical person is a machine. A machine can only act in this way. What is the point in getting upset about anything? Just forgive. A machine can only work in this way. Bringing forgiveness in life will create a different attitude within us. આપણો એક નવો વલણ આવી જશે અંદર. કે ક્ષમાનો વલણ આવી જશે. And this is not a weakness. It requires great strength inside. Great strength inside. A new attitude, a new habit towards life. But if I am getting angry on you, I am saying you are conscious. You know what you are doing. Right? But that is not possible. I've studied that every moment everybody is identified with their moods, with their position, with their appearance, with their cleverness, with how good they are, with their talents, with their failures. Every moment they are identified. How can they be conscious? Then how can I expect him to do anything otherwise? The same thing. So forgiveness. Don't run away from good suffering. Don't run away from good suffering, but learn to identify useless suffering and get rid of it fast. Get out of useless suffering. Worrying is useless suffering. It's not going to do anything good in us. We're through. A man went to his solicitor. Right? He says, I am very rich, so money is no object, but I want to be rid of my wife. Good suffering. And he used a couple of 4-letter words. She is like this. And you have to see that I am not held for murder. Right? So tell me what to do. So the solicitor said, buy her a very mad horse and tell her to go riding. And the horse will throw her down and you'll be rid of her. So the man bought a mad horse for her. A month later he came back to his solicitor. It's all useless, you didn't give good advice. So the solicitor asked what happened. Now she's become an expert rider. So he said, solicitor said, okay, then do one thing, buy a small mini car and tell her to go on some mountain road. So he did that. So After a month, he came back to the solicitor and said, "What happened?" She said, "No, now she can do all kinds of acrobatics with the mini car." So then the solicitor said that you do one thing, you buy her a Jaguar. Very fast, everything like. So the man was back in a week, very happy. He says, "Name your fee, it worked." I said, "What happened?" "Well, when she opened the cage to feed the Jaguar, it bit her head." So, don't run away from good suffering. The wife is good suffering. We'll stop over here.
આવો જોક પેલા કોઈએ મોકલ્યો હતો ને કે બીડીને છોડવા માટે રામદેવ બાબા જોડે મોકલ્યો તો પછી શીર્ષાસન કરીને બીડી પીતો હતો.
Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna.
Yes.